What if the thing you keep avoiding is the very thing that could transform your life? What if your brain has not been designed to make you weak, but simply trained to choose what feels easy, familiar, and safe? Every time you reach for comfort instead of challenge, you teach your mind a lesson. And every time you choose discipline when you would rather quit, you teach it another. The life you dream about will rarely be built during the moments when everything feels easy. It will be built in those quiet moments when nobody is watching, when your body says, "Not today," when your mind gives you 100 reasons to stop, and something deeper inside you whispers, "Keep going." You have to understand something powerful. You do not need to love hard things before you begin doing them. You need to begin doing them until your brain learns that difficulty is not something to fear. At first, discipline may feel like punishment. Waking up early feels difficult. Exercising when you are tired feels difficult. Studying when your phone is calling your name feels difficult. Starting again after failure feels difficult. But with repetition, something changes. The struggle that once felt unbearable begins to feel familiar. And what once required enormous willpower slowly becomes part of who you are. Your brain can be trained. It can learn to seek progress instead of pleasure, purpose instead of distraction, and growth instead of comfort. The goal is not to become a person who never feels tired, afraid, or unmotivated. The goal is to become the person who no longer needs perfect feelings to take imperfect but necessary action. Because the strongest people are not always the people who feel powerful. Sometimes they are simply the people who decided that their feelings would no longer be the ones holding the steering wheel. So today, I want you to look differently at the hard things in your life. Don't immediately call them obstacles. Don't assume that difficulty means you are on the wrong path. Some difficulties are invitations. They are asking you to become stronger than the version of yourself that created your current limits. And once you learn how to train your mind to crave the work, the discipline, the challenge, and the uncomfortable steps that most people avoid, you will discover something remarkable. You were never waiting for a stronger life. You were waiting to become strong enough to create it. Your mind has a remarkable habit of protecting you from anything that feels unfamiliar. The moment something becomes uncomfortable, your brain may begin searching for an escape. It whispers, "Do it tomorrow." It tells you that you are too tired, that the timing is wrong, that you need more preparation, that somebody else is doing it better. And because those thoughts can sound reasonable, you may believe them. But discomfort is not always a warning that something is wrong. Sometimes discomfort is simply the feeling of stepping beyond the boundaries you have lived inside for too long. Think about the first time you tried something that later became easy. Maybe you learned to speak in front of people, exercise regularly, study a difficult subject, wake up early, or make a decision that frightened you. In the beginning, your mind resisted. Your body felt tense. You wanted to return to what was familiar, but you continued. And slowly, what once felt difficult became normal. That is how your brain learns. It does not become stronger because you tell it to become stronger. It becomes stronger because you repeatedly give it evidence that you can handle what once intimidated you. This is why you must stop treating every uncomfortable feeling as an emergency. Feeling nervous before taking action does not mean you should retreat. Feeling tired does not automatically mean you should quit. Feeling uncertain does not mean you are incapable. Sometimes your emotions are simply responding to change. Your brain loves familiar patterns because familiar patterns require less energy. But your dreams live beyond familiar patterns. If you always choose what is comfortable, you may protect yourself from temporary discomfort while accidentally protecting yourself from permanent growth. Start small. Do not wake up tomorrow and attempt to become a completely different person in one day. Choose one difficult thing and do it deliberately. Finish the task you have been postponing. Put the phone away when you need to concentrate. Take the walk when you would rather remain on the couch. Have the conversation you have been avoiding. Keep one promise to yourself when nobody else would know if you broke it. Every small victory sends a message to your brain: I can do difficult things. And something beautiful begins to happen when you repeat that message through action. You begin to trust yourself. You stop seeing discipline as something forced upon you and start seeing it as something that belongs to you. The difficult morning becomes proof that you can rise. The challenging workout becomes proof that you can endure. The unfinished dream becomes proof that you still have something worth fighting for. You begin to understand that strength is not the absence of discomfort. Strength is learning that discomfort cannot command you. There will be days when you still want the easy road. There will be moments when comfort calls your name louder than your purpose. Do not be ashamed of that. You are human. The goal is not to silence every desire for comfort. The goal is to stop allowing comfort to make your decisions. Let discomfort sit beside you without becoming your master. Breathe through it, walk through it, work through it, and remember that every time you remain standing in a difficult moment, you are teaching your brain a new truth. This feeling cannot destroy me. One day, you will look back and realize that the things you once feared were not walls at all. They were doors. Every uncomfortable step was teaching you how to walk farther. Every difficult decision was strengthening your ability to choose. Every moment when you wanted to quit but continued was quietly rebuilding your identity. And that is when hard things begin to change. You stop asking why life is difficult and start asking what this difficulty is trying to build inside you. Because sometimes the discomfort you are trying so desperately to escape is the very training ground where your strongest self is waiting to be born. There is a small space between knowing what you need to do and actually doing it. And in that small space, your mind can become very persuasive. You wake up knowing you should get out of bed, but you tell yourself you need 5 more minutes. You know you should begin the project, but suddenly you need coffee, a better environment, or just a little more time to prepare. You know you should exercise, but your body feels heavy and your mind begins presenting reasons why tomorrow would be better. The longer you remain still, the stronger those reasons become. That is why sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is move before your mind has time to negotiate. Your mind is not always trying to sabotage you. It is trying to conserve energy and protect you from uncertainty. When something looks difficult, your brain naturally searches for the easiest available option. It says, you can do it later, and later sounds harmless. But later has a way of becoming tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes next week, and next week becomes another year of wondering why nothing has changed. You don't lose your dreams in one dramatic moment. Sometimes you lose them through hundreds of tiny delays that seemed insignificant at the time. This is why action must sometimes come before motivation. Do not wait until you feel ready. Do not wait for the perfect mood, the perfect morning, or the perfect version of yourself to appear. Begin while your hands are still shaking. Begin while your confidence is still growing. Begin while your mind is still giving you reasons to wait. You do not need to win the entire battle at once. You only need to take the first step before resistance becomes comfortable. There is tremendous power in making your first action immediate. When the alarm rings, stand up. When you know you need to write, open the page. When you know you need to train, put on your shoes. When the difficult task is in front of you, touch it before you can build a story about why you cannot do it. The first movement breaks the spell of hesitation. Once you begin, the task often becomes less frightening than your imagination made it. You must learn to recognize the voice that says, just wait a little longer. Sometimes that voice will sound intelligent. It will tell you that you deserve rest, even when you have been avoiding responsibility. It will tell you that you need more confidence before taking the opportunity. It will tell you that you should wait until you feel inspired. Listen carefully, because sometimes wisdom says, rest, but fear says, run. Learn the difference. Rest when you truly need restoration. But when you are simply afraid of effort, choose movement. Every time you act before negotiating with yourself, you strengthen a powerful habit. You teach your brain that decisions are not always debates. Some things simply need to be done. You become faster at beginning and less dependent on emotional permission. What once required an hour of convincing yourself may eventually require only a moment. That is how discipline becomes natural. Not because the work becomes easy, but because you become less willing to waste energy arguing with yourself. Your future is built by the decisions you make in those tiny moments nobody sees. The moment you choose to rise instead of remain comfortable. The moment you begin instead of postpone. The moment you keep your promise instead of creating another excuse. These moments may look ordinary, but they are shaping your character. So when you know something matters, move. Move before fear writes its argument. Move before comfort presents its offer. Move before doubt becomes persuasive. Because sometimes the difference between the life you keep imagining and the life you finally create is simply this. You acted before your mind had the chance to convince you not to. You will not always wake up feeling inspired. There will be mornings when your body feels heavy, your mind feels distracted, and the easiest thing in the world will be to stay exactly where you are. There will be afternoons when you promised yourself you would finish the work, but suddenly everything else seems more interesting. There will be evenings when you know what needs to be done, yet your emotions are asking for comfort instead. This is where discipline becomes more valuable than motivation, because motivation is a feeling, and feelings change. Discipline is a decision. If you build your life around motivation, you will constantly be waiting for the right emotional weather. You will work when you feel energetic, exercise when you feel inspired, pursue your dreams when you feel confident, and stop whenever your mood changes. But your greatest goals cannot be built on such uncertain ground. Your future needs something steadier. It needs a part of you that can say, I may not feel like doing this today, but I know why I must. That does not mean you should ignore your body or pretend that exhaustion does not exist. There are times when rest is necessary. There are moments when slowing down is wisdom, not weakness. Discipline is not about punishing yourself. It is about learning the difference between genuine exhaustion and temporary resistance. Sometimes you need to recover. Other times you simply need to begin. The stronger you become at recognizing that difference, the less likely you are to let a passing emotion make a permanent decision. Think about how easily you follow habits that require almost no thought. You brush your teeth, check your phone, make your coffee, or follow familiar routines without holding a meeting with yourself first. That is because repetition has trained your brain. The same principle can transform your relationship with difficult work. When you repeatedly act according to your commitments instead of your moods, discipline becomes familiar. Eventually, you stop asking whether you feel like doing the work. You simply begin. And there is something deeply powerful about keeping promises to yourself. Every time you tell yourself you will do something and then actually do it, your self-trust grows. Every time you repeatedly break those promises, even privately, a small part of your confidence weakens. This is why discipline is not merely about productivity. It is about becoming someone you can rely on. You begin to look at yourself differently because you know that when you give your word to yourself, you mean it. You may never eliminate the desire to choose comfort. Even the strongest person has moments when the easy road looks beautiful. But strength is not measured by whether temptation appears. Strength is measured by what you do when it does. You can feel tired and still take one step. You can feel afraid and still make the call. You can feel uncertain and still begin. You can feel discouraged and still refuse to abandon the person you are becoming. So stop waiting for your mood to give you permission to pursue your purpose. Your mood is allowed to speak, but it does not have to lead. Let your values lead. Let your commitments lead. Let the vision you have for your life lead. When your feelings say tomorrow, let discipline answer today. When comfort says stay here, let purpose whisper keep moving. And when you discover that you can act without needing to feel ready, you will have unlocked a freedom that motivation alone can never give you. The life you want will ask something from you on days when you feel strong and on days when you feel completely empty. It will ask you to continue when applause is absent, when results are slow, and when nobody understands why you refuse to quit. Those are the moments when discipline quietly becomes your greatest companion. Not loud, not dramatic, just steady. One decision, then another, until one day you realize that you are no longer controlled by the question, how do I feel? You are guided by a far more powerful question. What does the person I am becoming choose to do? You do not become strong because of one extraordinary moment. You become strong because of the ordinary moments you face every day and the choices you make when nobody is watching. Strength is built quietly. It is built when you get up even though you want to stay in bed. It is built when you finish what you started even though the excitement has disappeared. It is built when you choose patience instead of anger, discipline instead of distraction, and progress instead of another excuse. These moments may seem small, but your life is being shaped by them. We often imagine the transformation requires some dramatic decision. We think one day we will suddenly become disciplined, fearless, focused, and unstoppable. But real change rarely arrives like thunder. It arrives like a whisper, repeated every morning. You choose the better meal. You complete the difficult task. You put the phone down. You read another page. You take another step. You say no when saying yes would be easier. None of these decisions seem powerful by themselves, but together they create a person who is no longer easily defeated by discomfort. Your brain learns from repetition. Every time you choose the harder but healthier option, you are creating evidence about who you are. If you repeatedly escape difficult situations, your brain learns to associate discomfort with retreat. But if you repeatedly stay, breathe, and continue, your brain begins learning something completely different. It learns that difficulty can be survived. It learns that effort is normal. It learns that discomfort does not automatically mean danger. Slowly, the thing that once required enormous courage becomes something you simply do. Do not underestimate the power of a small struggle. Maybe today your struggle is getting out of bed on time. Maybe it is concentrating for 30 minutes without reaching for your phone. Maybe it is exercising when you would rather rest, saving money instead of spending it, or refusing to respond to someone who is trying to pull you into unnecessary conflict. These things may never become inspirational stories that other people hear, but they are shaping your character. You are practicing self-command, and self-command is one of the greatest forms of freedom. When every temptation can control you, you are not truly free. When every difficult emotion can change your direction, you are not truly in charge. But when you can feel the pull toward comfort, and still choose what serves your future, something changes inside you. You begin to understand that you do not have to obey every impulse. You can acknowledge the feeling without surrendering your decision. There will be days when your progress feels invisible. You will work hard and see no immediate reward. You will make the right choice and wonder whether it matters. It matters. The seed does not look like the tree it will become. Your daily discipline may not look impressive today, but it is preparing a version of you that will be capable of carrying opportunities you are not ready for yet. Keep building even when there is no applause. And remember, you are not required to conquer everything today. You only need to win the next decision. Choose the next right action, then choose another. Let your victories be small enough to repeat and meaningful enough to matter. A stronger life is created through hundreds of these choices. One difficult morning, one honest decision, one completed promise, one moment of restraint, one more attempt after failure. Eventually, you will look back and realize that you did not become stronger by waiting for strength to arrive. You built it. You built it through the days when you were tired, uncertain, disappointed, and tempted to quit. You built it through struggles nobody applauded. And that is the beauty of daily discipline. The small things you choose today become the strength you depend on tomorrow. So do not wait for a life-changing moment. Start with the little struggle in front of you. Meet it with courage. Meet it with patience. Meet it again tomorrow. Because every time you choose the harder, better path, you are teaching your mind that this is who you are now. Your brain is always learning what deserves your attention. Every time you choose comfort, your mind remembers the relief that followed. You avoid the difficult task, and for a moment, you feel lighter. You postpone the workout, and the discomfort disappears. You close the book, put away the work, or reach for your phone, and suddenly you feel better. That relief can become a reward, and without realizing it, you begin teaching your brain that escaping difficulty is something to celebrate. But if you want to become stronger, you must change what your mind learns to reward. Start giving yourself a different kind of satisfaction. Let yourself feel proud when you keep a promise, not merely when you make yourself comfortable. Let the feeling of accomplishment become more valuable than the temporary relief of avoidance. When you finish something difficult, pause for a moment and recognize what you have done. Not because you need constant praise, but because your brain needs evidence. You are showing yourself, I did something I did not want to do, and I am better because I did it. This is how you begin changing your relationship with hard work. Instead of thinking, I survived another miserable task, begin thinking, I proved something about myself today. That shift matters. The same difficult workout can feel completely different when you stop seeing it as punishment and start seeing it as evidence of strength. The same hour of studying becomes different when you understand that every focused minute is building the mind you will need for your future. The work has not changed. Your meaning has changed. You do not have to wait for some enormous achievement before allowing yourself to feel proud. Give yourself credit for the small promises you keep. If you said you would wake up early and you did, acknowledge it. If you promised yourself you would complete one important task before checking social media, celebrate that victory internally. If you chose to walk away from an argument instead of reacting, recognize the strength behind that decision. These moments may appear ordinary, but they are exactly where self-discipline is created. Be careful, however, not to turn every reward into another form of escape. You do not need to give yourself hours of distraction every time you accomplish something. Sometimes the reward can simply be the feeling of completion. Sometimes it can be a peaceful moment, a walk, a good meal, or the satisfaction of knowing you honored your word. The deepest reward is becoming someone you respect. When you begin respecting yourself for your consistency, you no longer need constant external approval to continue. Imagine waking up and knowing that every difficult choice gives you something valuable. You do not have to fear the challenge because you understand what waits on the other side. You finish the work and you gain confidence. You exercise and you gain strength. You resist distraction and you gain focus. You tell the truth and you gain integrity. You keep going after failure and you gain resilience. The effort becomes its own reward because every effort leaves something behind inside you. This is how you teach your brain to crave progress. You stop asking, what will make me feel comfortable right now? And begin asking, what will make me respect myself tonight? That question can change everything. Comfort can give you a pleasant moment, but keeping a promise gives you something deeper. It gives you trust in yourself. And self-trust is powerful, because once you know you can rely on yourself, difficult goals stop looking impossible. There will still be days when comfort feels tempting. Do not expect yourself to become a machine without emotions. You will still want to rest, procrastinate, escape, and choose the easier path. But now you have another choice. You can pause and remember what kind of reward you truly want. Temporary relief or lasting pride? A few minutes of comfort or another piece of evidence that you are becoming stronger? The answer will not always be perfect, but every time you choose effort, you strengthen the habit. Eventually, the difficult thing will no longer be the enemy. It will become an opportunity to prove something to yourself. You will begin to look forward to the feeling that comes after doing what you once avoided. That quiet satisfaction will become familiar. You will understand that the sweetest reward is not always relaxation after effort. Sometimes it is looking at yourself honestly and saying, I could have chosen the easy way, but I chose the way that made me stronger. And when your brain begins to associate that feeling with effort, discipline stops feeling like a prison. It starts feeling like freedom. There is a question that quietly controls more of your life than you realize. Do I feel like doing this? It sounds harmless. It sounds honest. But if you make that question the gatekeeper of your actions, you may spend years waiting for feelings that never arrive. You will wait to feel motivated before beginning, confident before speaking, energetic before working, and fearless before taking the step that could change your life. Meanwhile, time keeps moving, your dreams keep waiting, and the person you could become remains trapped behind a decision you keep postponing. You must learn that feelings are real, but they are not always instructions. You can feel tired and still do something meaningful. You can feel afraid and still move forward. You can feel uncertain and still make a wise decision. You can feel unmotivated and still honor your commitment. Your emotions deserve to be heard, but they do not deserve automatic authority over your future. If you allow every temporary feeling to decide what you will or will not do, then your direction will change every time your mood changes. Think about how often your mood has made promises for you. I will start tomorrow. I will exercise when I feel better. I will work when I am inspired. I will change when life becomes easier. Tomorrow arrives and the same conversation begins again. This is how procrastination becomes a lifestyle without ever announcing itself. It does not always look like laziness. Sometimes it looks like endless preparation, endless waiting, endless searching for the perfect emotional moment. But commitment asks a different question. It does not ask, do I feel like it? It asks, did I say I would do it? That question has power because it moves your life away from temporary emotion and toward deliberate choice. When you make a commitment to yourself, you are telling your future that it matters more than your present mood. You are saying, I may not feel ready, but I refuse to let this feeling make the decision for me. This does not mean forcing yourself through everything blindly. There are days when your body genuinely needs rest. There are moments when changing direction is wisdom. There are seasons when you must slow down and recover. Commitment is not stubbornness, it is clarity. It means knowing what truly matters and refusing to abandon it simply because today's emotions are uncomfortable. Learn to distinguish between a legitimate need to pause and a convenient desire to escape. You will discover something surprising when you begin acting without waiting for motivation. Motivation often comes after movement, not before it. You start writing and the ideas begin to flow. You begin exercising and your energy rises. You open the book and your concentration returns. You take the first step and the mountain no longer looks quite as impossible. Action creates momentum, and momentum creates its own form of motivation. Your moods are temporary visitors. Some arrive with sunshine, others arrive with storms. But your purpose must be deeper than the weather inside your mind. If you allow every emotional storm to change your direction, you will keep wandering. You need something steadier to guide you, your values, your commitments, your vision, the promises you made when you were thinking clearly about the life you wanted. Imagine what would happen if you stopped negotiating with yourself every time something became difficult. Imagine waking up and simply beginning. Imagine knowing that when you say something matters, your actions will eventually confirm it. That kind of consistency creates a quiet confidence that cannot be manufactured through positive words alone. You begin trusting yourself because you have evidence that you can act even when your feelings are not cooperating. One day, you will have a difficult decision in front of you, and the old voice will ask, do I feel like doing this? But you will recognize the question for what it is. You will breathe, stand up, and ask something better. What does my future need from me today? That question carries you beyond comfort. It reminds you that today's mood is temporary, but today's choices are building tomorrow's life. So let yourself feel everything you feel, but do not surrender your steering wheel to every emotion. Feel tired, but take the next necessary step. Feel afraid, but move with courage. Feel uncertain, but keep learning. Feel unmotivated, but honor your commitment. You do not have to feel powerful to practice power. You only have to decide that your purpose deserves a stronger voice than your temporary mood. And when you make that decision often enough, you will discover that discipline is not about forcing yourself to become someone else. It is about becoming the person you promised yourself you would be.